Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of Low High Trips. And just before we dive headfirst into this episode with Evans, I'd like to provide a little bit of context. As you may already be aware, the previous three episodes with Evans, all of which were released last year, didn't have proper intros and outros. Well, this is because of the fact that we've only ever recorded one episode. Yes, just one episode which went on for about a couple of hours, recorded at Evan's apartment about half a year ago. So yeah, we just went on and on and on. After the three episodes, we've got less than an hour of audio remaining, which I've decided to divide into two episodes. So without further ado, I present to you the first part of the remaining audio. Kick back, relax, and enjoy the trip. And I actually want to ask you one question.
Right.
What's one thing that you find it difficult or struggle to ask help for?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
If you need time to think, I can go first.
Oh yeah, I mean, go for it.
Because at the top of my head, the thing just came out as you were talking as well. I think one thing that I struggle with asking for help would be emotional support. I know it's funny. I know it's ironic considering the fact that, my background is in psychology and counseling, and it's all about providing emotional and mental support to your clients, right? And personally, I think I'm self-aware enough to reach out for emotional support when I need it. However, I think one thing that has been underplayed is my effort to actually reach out for help. Like the amount of effort needed for me, or the amount of discipline needed for me to actually reach out for help. Like, yo, I'm not feeling emotionally too well. I'm not in a very good space at the moment. I need help. It's not an ego thing, because I don't attach my ego to my emotional well-being. Right. Like it doesn't mean that I'm not in my good or like the optimum headspace at the moment. It means that you're a weak human being, or I don't feel insecure about being sad, about being not the best version of myself at the moment. Right. Like I'll personally be completely transparent that I'm actually seeing a counselor every single Sunday.
Okay.
Because it's telehealth and whatnot, but let's not dive too deep into it. But it's funny because to attain that help, it was, I would say, relatively easy.
Right.
Like it was very second nature for me to I think I'm not in a very optimum emotional headspace / well-being
Not in a good
state
spot.
at the moment. Not in a good spot in general. So I just reached out for help. However, I think it's easy to reach out for that help considering that it's a professional help.
Okay.
So I do not attach any friendship aspects to it. There's no factors to it. Yeah.
I think everyone always needs help. I always say there's nobody that's self-sufficient. It's I suppose it's sort of the way of life. You help others will, maybe not the same person, but someone will eventually help you. There's no such thing as you can do everything by yourself. That's just too much of a task, in my opinion. And speaking about your profession, in terms of psychology, that's sort of maybe why people always say you can't be your own sort of psychologist. That's why you always need someone else.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not an easy job, being a psychologist, having carrying other people's baggage, along with yourself. Again, maybe a bit out of context, but even psychologists, what I'm trying to say is needs help themselves.
Yeah, but just for a disclaimer, I'm not a psychologist. Yeah, just to put a disclaimer. I don't wanna claim something that I'm not.
I mean, drop enough likes and maybe Aaron might take a degree in psychology and be a
postgrad.
Yeah.
I'm actually considering doing a PhD, but not anytime soon. Yeah, I can't deal with research at the moment.
Fair enough. Join the club. Join the club.
But you have avoided my question, my friend.
Well, in terms of myself, I'd say a bit similar to yourself. For me, I'd say asking for the help itself is not so much of an issue for me. I'd say for me, a lot of times where I find it difficult to ask for help, hopefully that I remember the question correctly.
Yep.
is just, for me, it's just acknowledging that I need the help itself.
Ooh, so yours is before the asking part of
Correct,
it. It's like
correct.
the one step before.
For me, I'm just probably Aaron already knows, and a lot of my friends know. I have a very high ego. Like I'm just very arrogant. So
Yeah.
for me to ask help from someone, it's just
Highest in the room.
Yeah, one of the tallest. A bit out of tangent, but you know, a lot of my friends know me for being such a rock. Pretty much, like in a lot of arguments, I hate losing. Maybe
Because you're always hard?
yeah.
Okay.
Maybe in a sense, like I just hate being wrong, or like I mean, maybe a lot of people are like that, but like I'm just very competitive, maybe in nature, or I just like being right. So for me to acknowledge
Of
that,
course.
like obviously again to view myself as mighty, to have like that God sort of complex,
Yeah.
it's just very difficult for me to just ask help. I would try to like exhaust sorry all of my resources just to be able to do something, or just so I don't have to ask help. But obviously there will be times that I do eventually have to ask for help. So just
Right.
for an example, when I had to move to like my new building, obviously, it wasn't sort of feasible for me to like move everything myself. That was sort of impossible unless I had to hire like, you know, someone to move my things with me and stuff like that.
Yeah, which would cost like $5,000.
Yeah. I mean, extortion is the name of the game in Australia here, pretty much. But I mean, it's very small. Like, I wouldn't say this is like a big issue for me, but something like that, like asking help, is pretty easy for me. But again, I mean, for me, it's all aspects. I wouldn't have like one aspect like Aaron, where it's in a sense it's very emotionally based for me. Certain things I'm not really sure what, but like I do have like such a high ego that just to acknowledge that I need help is a difficulty in itself. But when it comes to asking for help, but once I've acknowledged that I need help, for me it's very easy.
Right.
I don't have any qualms asking someone for help, and even if they reject me, there's no issues there. I would always.
It doesn't like
It doesn't hamper me. So I always look for the next best thing. I'm like, I mean, if he can't help me, that's okay. You know, there's pretty much like the world. There's not just one service. That's not just your one friend who can sort of help you. There will be always other friends, and you know, maybe he's just not the right guy. And like, you know, some people believe in sort of like religion or like, you know, luck and stuff like that. Maybe it's just not sort of meant to be. Maybe it's not that friend. Or maybe, you know, God isn't opening that door for you, and maybe there's just another door. So I never take things, you know, to
personally?
your heart or personally. Yeah, exactly. And so, but yeah, mainly it's just like, just the acknowledgement itself is just the most difficult part for me.
Yeah. So basically, just to recap, it's like your struggle is more towards asking for help because of the fact that your struggle is getting to the acknowledgement or the realization.
Correct.
Or the main word I want to say is acceptance.
Right.
That you need help because it's being, let's just say, clouded by your ego.
Pretty much. I mean, nobody likes to feel sort of vulnerable. And as you said yourself, sometimes, you sometimes you don't really like asking help, you know, like why would you ask for help sometimes when you can try to do it yourself? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's very hard to acknowledge that part. And I feel like
It's like
a lot of people face similar sort of issues. And obviously not everyone, but to each their own is what I'm saying.
so essentially toxic masculinity. Yeah. I also want to say one thing though. I feel like earlier when you talked about ego and me talking about that it's not about the ego. I feel like to sort of like connect back to what we talked about in the first place, us being, you know, like relatively close, right? I feel like we are actually very different.
Yeah.
Like I don't think I can think about a person who is a bit more different than who I am. I do not know how to put it. It's not different in the sense of like interest. It's not different in the sense of like the things that we do in life, you know, but it's more like how we approach things. I think we're very different intuitively.
Yeah.
Like the way we process information, the way we process emotions, the way we view things, like abstract things, is very different. And I'm just going to drop this on you, is that I've actually talked about our friendship with my previous partner.
Okay.
Yep. So I've talked about our friendship and provided context as well as like our dynamics, right? And all of our interactions. And she has recapped our friendship
Right.
as essentially you're the Thor to my Loki. That's what she said. That's what she said.
Well, I mean, considering we're still here,
Yeah.
probably.
I don't know how true that is, but yeah, apparently that's the
I'd say I'm more of a Loki. You're more of like the Thor. I'm not gonna lie.
me.
Yeah.
I'm the Thor.
Yeah.
No way, dude. Like I'm not trying to like romanticize Loki or anything. Like I mean, I'm not saying that. Oh, I want to be Loki, man. I want to be Mario.
Fair enough.
You be Luigi.
I mean, thinking about it, maybe you're right because I was thinking when I say I was like Loki, it's because I'm just a bit more mischievous than you are. But,
Oh, yeah.
But in a sense, remembering the first Thor, maybe you're a bit right, whereby Thor was of sort of a very arrogant god. Or
Yeah.
he was portrayed to be a very arrogant and sort of powerful god, at least in the first movie.
And somewhat egoistic.
Yeah, exactly. I suppose a lot of that pretty much sort of like Thor maybe stemmed from sort of my background, maybe. So obviously I'm not saying that's like my parents' sort of bad upbringing or anything, but
It's always the parents, man. It's not us.
yeah, but I'm just gonna say like I was just born into a very sort of fortunate family. I mean, we're not like top 50 like Forbes kind of rich, but we were
Top 100 maybe.
Yeah, we were very well off. We were a very well off family. I had a very good education, and my parents were always very supportive of me. But I would like to say that partly like my arrogance and like my hard-headedness comes from my own mother.
Okay.
I'm not gonna lie. The only person I'd say who's even more hard-headed than me is my own mother. Like in an argument, I would never beat my own mom. Like, oh my God, like.
So if
like,
Evan's mom, if you're listening to this, your son's like calling you out.
My mom's pretty much, I suppose, like sort of a reflection of myself. I mean,
I think it's the other way around, dude. You're a reflection of your mom.
Okay, fine.
Your mom was so egoistic. Yeah. The world revolves around you. Like your mom is a reflection of you. Dude,
I mean,
pipe down.
Now the viewers are just getting a bit of hints of like, what I really am. But
how you really are in real life. This is like the toned down version of you.
Yeah.
The filtered version, all right?
Make sure to, again, like and subscribe for more of me, guys, But yeah, again, so... I've never met anyone more hard-headed than my mom. So whenever I get to a conversation with my mom, normally that's a similar set of circumstances as to what I would go through with my friends, whereby my friends would just give up. They just couldn't argue with me. They're just like, okay, you know what, you just have it your way. And that's sort of what I would be with my mom. Just like, you know what, drop it, because I'm never going to beat her in this conversation.
Nah, that's fair. Okay, if you could pick one Marvel hero or heroine, wait, is that how you pronounce it? Like the female hero. Is it heroine?
Yeah, I suppose.
Oh, okay, because I thought, it's heroine. But okay, whatever. Like, if you could pick one Marvel character, I think that's a better way. If you could pick one Marvel character to match you the most, or like the one you can most relate with, which one would it be?
Probably like Tony Stark, I'd say.
Yo, legit.
Yeah, I mean, like, Tony Stark, I'm not gonna lie, Tony Stark is like a pretty arrogant man initially on.
Yeah, of course.
Like throughout the series, he has been put to the test and he has been humbled a lot of times. Obviously, maybe in my case, I haven't been humbled as many times, so I'm still a bit arrogant. But I'd say I'd relate to Tony a lot in a sense, like, and that's probably why a lot of people like Tony Stark, because he's such a relatable character in a lot of aspects. Maybe not in the sense that he was arrogant, but
interesting.
The dude was very sort of like, he was on top of the world, and sort of that was pretty much what I felt, pretty much. Like, obviously giving you guys a bit of context as to what Indonesia is like. It's like, the country is like 4th largest population in the world. Like, Indonesia has a lot of like helpers and like nannies and whatnot. But basically, there's a lot of like poverty. And it's like a very like, what you'd expect out of like a Asian or Southeast Asian country, and being born in a very, as I mentioned, sort of well-off family, receiving very high education, it's hard to sort of not think highly of yourself compared to a lot of others.
It's hard not to think highly of yourself.
Yeah, in a sense, like, because a lot of people, I mean, it's difficult in Indonesia because a lot of people are uneducated, and when they're uneducated, like the decision makings they make is very questionable.
Okay.
And because of that, you think more highly of yourself because you've got the money and you've got the education, you've got the background.
Right.
Obviously, again, Much like, obviously a bit like Thor as well. Like pretty much that foundation that was given to you was not something you earned yourself.
Yep.
That was based on obviously your ancestors, your grandparents, and obviously the hard work that your parents have put in. And what I'm trying to say, just a bit of sort of politics, but to give you a bit of sort of context here is that, like in Indonesia, again, everyone has their own different views, but in sort of my view, diving into a bit of dirty politics here, guys, but
Okay.
Indonesia had sort of like a governor or a potential governor. His name was sort of Ahok. The dude was a Chinese dude. He was a very honest. He wasn't the best. I wouldn't say best candidate in a sense. Like he wasn't very like he didn't sugarcoat things. He was very transparent with things, pretty much. But he was a very honest and he basically wanted to better his own. I wouldn't say village, but I'd say like state, I suppose, which is where I live in the state of Jakarta, the capital, basically. But obviously, because Indonesia is so corrupt, like a lot of people doesn't have education. People are so easily swayed by sort of religion. Obviously, nothing against sort of Muslims out there, but again, politics is such a dirty sort of game. It's such a dirty topic. But what happens is that like the ustads are like pretty much like the priest of like Muslims.
Yeah, ustads.
So what happens is that they would get bribed by like the corrupt government into getting the people to vote for a corrupt government officials instead.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Yep, I mean, story of like a lot of Southeast Asian countries.
Yeah.
So what happens there is that just for a few dollars for false promises, just because of religion, they would pick a corrupt government over a non-corrupt government official. Just to give you a bit of context, I mean, again, as I said, everyone has their own sort of preference there, but obviously Ahok had some policies that a lot of people liked and didn't like. So for examples, for the rich people, that would mean like a huge end for corruption. That would mean like higher taxes and like a lot of those things. But on the light side of things is that, those tax money would have been put to use for the less fortunate people. Parks were being built for skateboards. People were going to receive free education.
Wait, what? Skateboards?
Yeah, so obviously I don't know what park it was called, but Ahok built like a skateboard, like a park. Like just a park.
It's a skating park.
Yeah.
I was like, what? This guy built a skateboard? Like, what's going on, dude? What's going on in Indonesia?
But he built like a skating park or like a park just for like sort of kids. And that's something you don't find in a lot of like Southeast Asian countries, obviously with the exception of maybe like Singapore. That's like a sort of like, it gives us like a first world country kind of vibes. Like parks are almost non-existent. It's pretty much just like polluted air.
That's a bit grim, to be honest.
I'm not gonna lie, I love my country. But so what I'm trying to say is that it turns into a vicious cycle whereby, again, because of your education and background, you were given the opportunity to see sort of the difference here. It's very difficult when you're sort of less fortunate and less sort of educated to differentiate these kind of things, and I don't really blame them, but then again, like the power is with the people, and it becomes what I meant by vicious cycles because it keeps repeating itself, and that's why a lot of Southeast Asian countries are where they are at right now. So people given the power to make change, they don't. So they pick the corrupt government official. The government official corrupts, and they just use their money to sort of like bribe them again, and it becomes that vicious cycle. In a sense that, people don't want to change. They complain that, I don't have money, the government's corrupt. But given the power to change things, to pick like maybe an honest, more honest and transparent government, they don't. They go for sort of, someone who's corrupt just for maybe false promises and, just for religion. Again.
So short-sightedness, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like not be able to see the long-term
benefits. Correct.
Or consequences.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so that's sort of just sort of a small sort of background. But that being said, for you, it gives you a lot of arrogance and a lot of like power because in Indonesia, again, similar to like other Southeast Asian countries, money is power.
Yeah.
So unlike, first world countries, unlike Australia, bribing is sort of a huge culture in Indonesia. You can bribe the cops, you can get out of things with money. So when you come from a background that's a bit more well off, or like a bit like above sort of,
like you're benefiting from that system.
Correct.
You're benefiting from that culture.
Correct. Obviously, again, I'm not sort of endorsing this kind of culture. It's just sort of the culture I grew up with.
It's a fact. Yeah, it's what happened, and it's what's happening, and it's how it shaped you as a human being.
Correct.
Right? Like the way you think.
Correct. And pretty much, as I said, similar to Thor, he had pretty much everything, and he was pretty much sort of unstoppable. I wouldn't say unstoppable, but he was very strong in a sense, just like in Indonesia. Like a lot of people would agree with me, but we say money is power in Indonesia. You can, bribe your way. You can, I don't know about taxes. I'm not very good with that, but I'm pretty sure like you...
Because you clearly don't think about money back home in Indonesia, right?
I mean, I am now. And that's sort of why I'm saying like, it's similar to sort of Tony Stark. That built sort of your arrogance and, you feel like you can get away with things. Obviously, it's good that I went abroad, you learn sort of the value of money and you start to appreciate your parents more. You get a bit more humble throughout the way. But that's sort of why I relate to Tony Stark in a sense that he had that arrogance, and because he had that background. Obviously, Tony was a smart person than I am, and he had like all the talents.
Yeah. I mean, essentially, it's like a self-reinforcement of your belief. It's like a cycle.
Correct.
And it's sort of like, it says a lot about the social system that we live in, isn't it? As well as, in a capitalist society, in a very, it's, the rich benefits from it. And I mean, we can dive way too deep into that, but...
Part 2, guys.
Yeah, part two. So I'm just going to quickly shoot you a question. Like, would you want to pick a guess which character that I identify most with? Hint, it's not Loki.
It's just Marvel or what?
Marvel. Yeah, just to keep it simple. Because Marvel is like,
Marvel has a lot of heroes. I'm assuming you're just talking about like Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah, let's just go with MCU. Yeah, okay. Let's not go into the comics because like they have different facets of them in the
Are you talking about just the main ones, or?
Let's just say whatever's in the MCU.
That's a lot of characters. I'm not gonna lie. I'd say.
You definitely know this character. 100%.
If I were to give a guess, I'd say it's probably like Captain America or like the Hulk. Something to do with like... Really? Was I wrong? Was I far off?
Far off, dude.
Really?
Yeah, far off.
Let me just keep guessing. I love these kind of guessing games.
Captain America? You see me being Captain America?
I don't know, bro. I mean...
Like, you think Captain Malaysia? Like me and Shield. But on a serious note, like, I don't see myself in like Captain America and Hulk at all. Like,
right.
And I think that's why I am not very invested in Marvel, MCU, Marvel Cinematic Universe, right? Like, as I was watching like Thor, Iron Man, Hulk, Captain America, and a couple of other movies, right? It's like, I don't really see myself in them. So I don't feel like it interests me that much. Like, it's great, it's nice, but to me, they're all, it's not too relevant.
Right, so what character are you?
You wanna guess? Give you another shot.
Black Panther.
Yeah, nah.
All right.
So the character that I only recently started thinking about this, actually. Right, it's something that I've been like sitting down like, oh yeah, actually which character actually reminds me of myself. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure if this is surprising to you, but the character which I relate most with in the Marvel Cinematic Universe is Vision.
Why is that?
And it only hit me once I started watching and finishing WandaVision. Have you seen WandaVision?
No.
Yeah, I think you need to watch it to like get the full context of it.
Guys, please give me like your Disney,
Disney Plus.
Yeah, Disney Plus. Get Aaron to like couple hundred likes, subscribers, or whatever, so he could sponsor me for Disney Plus, guys.
Yo, Disney Plus, if you're listening, like if you want to sponsor, we'll talk about WandaVision for like the whole year, man. Like, but on a serious note, right? Like WandaVision really dives deep into Vision and Wanda's characters, respectively. Okay. Because from the MCU, you know shit about them. You're just like, okay, this guy's just like some, I don't even know what he is. What is he, a cyborg?
I know a lot more because I used to read the comics a lot.
Yeah,
I was
I'm
a
not
big fan.
invested in it.
So pretty much I wouldn't say he's like a cyborg, but in a sense, yes, he's like a robot that was.
He's an AI, right?
Yeah,
like
he's an
inside
AI.
he's an AI, but the material, the external material, what is it, like vibranium?
Oh, I don't remember because MCU diverts a bit from the actual comics.
Fair.
But
Yeah.
I suppose.
Yeah.
I don't think it's the vibranium that makes him like sort of him. It was the Infinity Stone that he had. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, sort of go on. Like I want to know like how you see yourself in this character.
Interesting, yeah. So one thing I just want to put it out there is that when I say I see myself in Vision, I'm not talking about his external what do you call it, characteristics at all. Like, dude, I'm not a robot.
Aaron's a robot. Guys.
Nah, shut up. But it's just the way he thinks. And in WandaVision, they really portray his cognitive functions in that.
Okay.
They really portray the way he perceives information, the way he processes them, and the way he changes his worldview according to them. And first of all, in WandaVision, spoiler alert, like, alright, if you haven't watched WandaVision, please like turn this off or something if you do plan to watch it. So in WandaVision, he is constantly questioning things that are not consistent based on his worldview. Okay? And it's not like, for some people, maybe things that are not consistent, they view it as like, oh, okay, or they don't notice it as much. But for me, anything that is not consistent, I pick it up really easily. And I'm not trying to say that, oh, yeah, again, I'm very good at it. No, I'm not saying it's good or bad. It's just something that I've been conditioned to sort of the way I perceive information, right? Maybe it's my childhood or whatever. I do not know. I don't want to dive too deep into that right now. But I feel like the moment someone's not consistent, you can feel like something's off. So I feel like typically around like in a social group, in a way, you sort of like pick non-verbal cues stating that someone's not feeling the best version of themselves.
Okay.
Right? But this is like one part of it. Like, and I really relate to that. But second of all is the part where there was one scene where Vision was talking to second Vision. Again, spoiler alert.
Thanks, Aaron.
The second Vision is like, I don't know, it's a man-made vision. I don't want to dive too deep into that, but it's like a white vision. And the way that they fought, initially they fought as like typical Marvel fighting, like whatever it is. And the way they resolved it was very philosophical.
Okay.
And it was like based on like Theseus, whatever thing. I think you need to watch it to get the full context. But the way that they battled was that they met face to face and they started arguing in a philosophical manner where it's one trying to change the other's point of view. And the moment one manages to destroy or shatter the other person's worldview, the other person's like, oh shit, I need to process this. And I know this might be a bit confusing without context, but it's just that it's really, really relevant to my life right now where I feel like I've been self-reflecting a lot. And I have a friend as well who has been constantly telling me that I really like to be existential. Like I really desire to have my worldview completely shattered by whatever it is, by like new information. Like I like that process. I like to be updating my operating system. You know what I'm trying to say?
Okay.
Like if someone tell me something and I'm like, oh shit. And I need to like sit and think and I know that my life would never be the same from that moment onwards. Oof, man. Chef's kiss.
So, long story short, guys, Aaron is a huge fan of The Matrix. He likes being offered like the blue and red pill. That's just gonna like absolutely destroy his world.
Yo, that's like, oh, that's my wet dream, dude. That's like, if I dream of that, that's a wet dream for me.
Aaron, you want to get the blue pill or the red pill, bro?
I'll take the purple pill, both. Inject me both, bro. But yeah, legit. Oh shit. Can you believe we've talked for over an hour now?
Stay tuned again, as I always said, guys. Part 2. Beg Aaron for me to come on again as a guest host.
Guest host? Wow. You've assumed yourself to be a guest host? How arrogant. How Tony Stark of you.
Co-host.
Oh shit. Manager.
Yeah, probably.
Might as well. You want to continue this?
Yeah, I'm free for a bit.
You're free for a bit?
Time is, yeah, I've got time. It's not that far.
Yeah, fair enough.